It's Friday, it's May 12th, it's 2023. I woke up this morning thinking of this Loki character. I put on my New York Rangers jersey. Someone bought me once upon a Madison Square in time um, while I was dressed in my Chase uniform. Um, which was a pencil skirt below the knee with my Italian looking country boots. Um, and I was there with an RM. Um, and I'm thinking of this Avengers movie that came out, Paramount 100, in 2012, same year my last son was born, um, after having been blacksmithed in another horrendous relationship, like this one, like the worst type of insult to my intelligence, but here we are. Um, and I'm thinking of my grandfather, and if intelligence came in ranges, at the moment, I guess I'd be in Catskills, I'd be in the Adirondack range of Appalachian mountains. He would have come from like Alpini, like the Alps, Matterhorn, which I so miss seeing people from that region, um, and wondering what is going on with the Andes candies in this area and the atlas of whatever. Um, and then it dawns on me about this range of motion, range of intelligence. Then there's something called a ranger when you go to like arms, legs, and navels. I don't know how they fit in there, but it seems important and intelligent. Um, the Spanish daughter helped enlighten me. And then I'm thinking, like, why Vincent? It's like, why my cousin Vinny in the 1980s? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it's mapped out for me here. For the Andes Candies children. And I don't want to get in trouble, but Andes Candies actually is a confectionery. So I don't get labeled as a malcontent or a whatever. Um, it's just a nicer way of wondering why the branding and the arrival and however that works at why are the Matterhorn children, why does it feel like they're losing something? I'm not understanding how like the Andes and the Atlas children are like in such proliferance. Um, so I'm watching and I'm really enjoying this very noir version of Loki at the moment. And then it dawns on me they have this one bird, and then they have this NASA, and then they have this sun and oracle on a red container. And they speak of Chitzhouery. And I'm like, there's a word you don't hear every day. And I wouldn't want to take from a Chitzhouery without an offering back. So I dressed myself for protection in New York Ranger gear. Not that I trust the owner of this sports league or team. I don't know who they are. Not that I trust the person that I went to the game with as far as I could throw him. Not that I would do such. I'm not that type of woman. Um, and so I'm just watching the symbols. And then they have this Nick Fury painted all wrong, but it reminds me of this Dark Lord that surrounded Lewis, said he was a technology expert. Oh, when he left, the last day I saw him when he was saying goodbye, he was dressed in black and red, like marine looking symbol, um, and a striped shirt. And he was going to work for, he got something to do with Meta. And I'm like, now why? Like, is he siphoning information off of the Tesseract that's being built in this area? Off of, I don't know, let's say Facebook or metadata. Why is he involved in that project and not my father? That, I mean, especially when I have very real, like, my cousin Vinny and like Marissa Tomei, in like, it was a Skylark. Right, yeah, okay. So I know it sounds like crazy talk, but it's supers of things and like custodial and guarding things and gardening. It just seems very relevant. So I'm going to just put this on as this Loki mention. And then it very really looks like Nick Fury with one eye and this very dark complexion is stealing the Tesseract and putting it in a case to carry it away, which, as an Alpini and a Matterhorn blended Catskills New York Ranger fan, I'm very concerned for what my children are going to inherit. Now here is this very real bird and the NASA, and down here it's the sun and the oracle, just because I know at CEOs and CFOs and important deans, it's important for me anyhow. At home team. And now, one more piece of conjecture. They refer to this man as the Hawk. If that's supposed to represent the fact that they're trying to steal the Tesseract to win, like, I don't know, Victor the Scientist points, that concerns me as well. Because all of these, like, good tidings and good discoveries, well, who's feeding Victor's machine? Because I think it's being fed wrong, especially from where some of the shelf life of the intelligent and the able to witch hunt properly and like witch switch, right? Yeah, one of those. It feels like there's a relay system here, and I think there's like a mess up in the cog or the relay department with who's handing off information to whom and how is it being fed back in the system and who's getting credit. So now, I mean, I'm Team Nicholas. I know what Nicholas looked like. He looked very, let's just say, ancestrally congruent to whatever I am, whether that's Matterhorn or Alps. I don't want to get like Urals upset if there maybe is a crossroad parallel there somewhere. I'm not really sure. But if it doesn't fit into an Atlas or an Andes range of motion, I definitely am safe by saying he looked like he could either be Adirondack, or if I had to go a little further over the pond or the river or the through the woods to grandmother's house we go, right? My other grandmother's house was definitely in the Alps, and that was definitely where I would go for safety in bloodline. But this Nick Fury, like, what's mad at Nicholas? Possibly. Right. It's trying to steal the information from Meta for metadata and build cases that it's stealing from this, putting it in a case, and then running away with it. Because I'm still locked in a series of rooms. I mean, the Meta people and the people at Facebook, like there has been so much money made on the markets and things and this technology industry and all sorts of things that have grown out of this, for which I don't even have one red cent. I don't have a penny, and I don't have a red cent to for my own. I'm trapped in a series of rooms, but yet it's built off of something that happened to me or that's tied to me, and I have the answers. So I'm just confused how this works at chasing down the leads and the bad guys and making sure that the criminal activity stays at a minimum and the assets are returned to those that, like the profiteers, and then there's the people that they stole from and locked in really terrible situations. How do I get out of this?
Please don't. I still need that.
This doesn't have to get any messier.
Of course it does. I've come too far for anything else. I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose.
Loki, brother of Thor. We have no quarrel with your people.
Right. I'm burdened myself with glorious purpose. And I see that he says, Nick Fury, with the one eye and this very dark complexion, says he has no quarrel with my people. However, if I look at the later outlet, it says he's speaking to some black screens about some war, and it's won by soldiers. And then when I turn on my current events, I see they're now busing in Andy's candies, and some Atlas children are on those buses. And they also look very like Nick Fury relatable. And I don't see any Matterhorn children being bussed in. So I'm a little concerned about reinforcements and what this could actually mean.
An ant has no quarrel with a boot.
You planning to step on us?
I come with glad tidings of a world made free.
Free from what?
Freedom. Freedom is life's great lie. Once you accept that in your heart, you will know peace.
Yeah, you say peace. I kind of think you need him.
Sir, Director Fury is stalling. This place is about to blow. Drop 100 feet of rock on us.
And then they call him Director Fury.
He means to bury us.
Like the pharaohs of old.
It's right. The portal is collapsing in on itself. We've got maybe 2 minutes before this goes critical.
Brother.
That's supposed to represent, like, I'll take my ancient texts and the answers back that somebody may have studied and tried to circumvent the Matterhorn children. I'm just curious. And then here's him later in the movie, and I'm listening to him in his private moment and how he's updating private covert security. And of course, because the messenger is in some complex, very different than where I've been looking for Mr. Right, and so far all I see is Atlas Children and Andy's Candies, and I don't know where Mr. Right went from like the Matterhorn or the Catskills somewhere in the Adirondacks. So I just am really questioning like who's running this show and why is there this like super bloom of and change over my life frame.
Asgard is declaring war on our planet? Not Asgard. Loki.
He can't be working alone. What about the other one? His brother.
Our intelligence says Thor's not a hostile, but he's worlds away. We can't depend on him to help either. It's up to us.
Which is why you should be focusing on Phase 2. It was designed for exactly this.
Phase 2 isn't ready. Our enemy is. We need a response team.
The Avengers initiative was shut down.
This isn't about the Avengers.
We've seen the list to running the world's greatest covert security network, and you're gonna leave the fate of the human race to a handful of freaks.
I'm not leaving anything to anyone. We need a response team. These people may be isolated, unbalanced even, but I believe with the right push, they can be exactly what we need.
You believe?
War isn't won by sentiment, Director.
No, it's won by soldiers.
So when this Matterhorn, this looks like a Matterhorn or a Catskills or an Adirondack looking individual for me. So I'm just confused then. I'm gonna go to where they were pushing yesterday from the news, dropping off these bus loads of people that someone's paying to live in hotels and have food and to start jobs. I've been here and graduated the local educational system since 1995-96. I have yet to get a job that supports. I don't live in a hotel. Nobody's paying for that for me. And there's no like free legal advice, free shelter, free job placement. Like, where is my concierge? So here's the current events. So that was movie 2012. Again, I don't know who has access to time and motion studies. I don't. Pathways of entry to anything in a life in like of executive function and of intelligence. That door, like that hand off, like here, Nick, here, Nicole, here's where the office is. Show up and speak to this person. I mean, I spoke to somebody in strategic management after Alexander was born, but just on the phone. And they didn't even tell me where to show up and give me a contact in the field so I could start work with them. I didn't have to do real estate. I didn't want to do real estate. I wanted a paying job so I could support my children in a construct that looked like hours in, hours paid, then taxes get paid, and in like an itemized, so I didn't lose my home and my children grew up with a mother. But that was not afforded or offered to my person. And I'm still really struggling with why, especially knowing that the Queen's recommendation in the New York Library is recommending for book club, which I will be attending today, as the Spanish daughter. And I'm like, that was the Queen's recommendation? Was the Andes kids? What happened to the Alps and the Matterhorn children? And is there an exchange program? I mean, like, if Adirondacks is all of a sudden going to become strictly like Andy's only exclusive club, I have a real RH thing going on at X-Men, which the T-Cross should know about.
The right to shelter law. Eyewitness News reporter Crystal Cranmore is live at City Hall with more on that. Crystal.
Good afternoon. Well, we're just learning that a bus with migrants just arrived in Newburgh about an hour ago. Even though the Orange County executive took to social media yesterday saying that after speaking with the New York City mayor and the governor, he was promised that no buses with migrants would be sent there, at least for now. The county issuing a statement saying in part that...
So now the historical context has changed. They're no longer arriving by ship, although I saw on the news that there are boats that come from the Caribbean islands and that tried to make landfall by boat. They plague the U.S. Coast Guard, those, bless their hearts. But now they're arriving, they're rewriting their history because they arrived by bus. Again, you didn't lose me in the details. I'm accurately documenting this for my portion of equitable distribution at Victor the Scientist, in case Science Club comes and needs like exact details.
Part that this whole process has been disorganized and that local authorities were not notified. Now, going on behind me, activists and elected officials at City Hall Park are calling for a more coordinated effort when sending migrants to the Hudson Valley. The city has confirmed it did, in fact, send a bus to Newburgh. You might remember they had a plan announced last week. We don't know much more beyond that right now, other than the mayor said it plans to start legal attempts at busing migrants to hotels around the state.
I mean, this guy has a record of being anti-Semitic, his racist comments, his thoughts and how he responded to this. Really, it shows a lack of leadership.
Mayor Eric Adams this morning pushing back against comments and legal actions by Rockland County Executive.
Again, is that like the Nick Fury of the Avengers series? With the one eye. I'm just curious, like, how my real world is being affected and how they've already portrayed it or semi-foretold it, but in a going forward motion until the characters arrive on set, like Eric Adams gets elected and it's like, oh Jesus, oh Jesu Cristo, like, is that going to, oh, Santa Maria, right? Yeah, Lewis went to Italy and visited the Santa Maria. I know that the legend of Columbus is very real in the Italian boot. So, again, I'm just, how are these motion and moving pictures and then the time and motion studies that I see Dragnet knew about, was making an announcement about 1970s, but I looked in the TV guide and we didn't have Dragnet playing. Somebody called Judy's house to confirm that. We kept looking week after week and she had to call somebody and say if it was in our schedule, because we were highlighting things we had access to for our very real House of August record for celestial bodies.
To prevent the busing of migrants from New York City. Day took to Facebook earlier in the day to say, in part, he'll ensure our quality of life is not compromised by a New York City dictator. Like Rockland County, Orange County officials have vowed to stop the housing of migrants at hotels there, issuing a state of emergency. Meanwhile, immigrant advocates and...
Now, being my own immigrant advocate, I suppose, there was very really Stella Pini on one side, and my grandfather chose Orchid over here. In this book, it says Hycinths, Hycinths. I guess they're taking the responsibility for whatever this is. I really don't know who they are. I think I said hydrangeas by accident, but if you actually look on the page in the book, it says hyacinths. And I don't know whose flower that is or what range they come from. But I have a two-sided flower for whatever, in being my own advocate, I suppose, since nobody's ever really showed up in the field and wanted to like really join in or help me in finding Mr. Right. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxies, Broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.